Holla ballers, what's going on? It's Preacher, and we are 24 hours officially hit the mark, hit the target here in the EU of Warlords of Draenor's release. And let's say it, let's just flat out say it has been the worst expansion launch in the history of World of Warcraft. I've seen some people try and compare it to the Burning Crusade. Even with throwing an entire realm's population into one zone, it was not as bad as it has been for Warlords of Draenor. Now, of course, it has been a little bit worse, if not significantly worse, in the EU than it has been in the US. As of right now, the light is starting to shine, but currently, 24 hours after launch, garrisons do not work, are completely inaccessible, kick your character out, and as you probably know by now if you've been playing, garrisons occur quite early on in your leveling experience. And if you've just come home from work and you're ready to log in, if you followed my other advice, which was, hey, if you do not absolutely have to level immediately, then you should wait until the day after to start playing. That's actually going to screw you up because now you can't actually access your garrison, which means you can't really start the game at all. In fact, the only people who are currently in some sort of leveling or hit level 100 already, as several have in my guild, then they have done dungeon grinding to skip past most of the early game. We have several level 100s in my guild right now who actually do not have a garrison because they had to bypass that entirely. Why? What the fuck happened? I think we're right in saying so. A lot of people would accuse me of being a Blizzard fanboy, right? And saying things like, don't log in, it's an MMO, this has got millions of players, don't be there on the first thing, problems are bound to happen. But even I have to say, this is frankly inexcusable. In the EU, we had to wait 14 hours. 14 hours for any comments from Blizzard as to why the major quest chain, Part 1, immediately after the garrison, Part 1 was completely broken. This is not a lag issue. Lag I can understand, right? Lag I can tolerate. Lag can be beaten by patience. It can. If it's just laggy because loads of people are enjoying and getting ready for the new expansion, that's fine. The game is, in some form, playable. But this isn't what's happening with Warlords of Draenor and what's not happened so far. They have been flat out broken areas of the game. This is not being caused by just significant amounts of people. They just could not get the areas to work. As we said, garrisons are broken. Only in the last couple of hours have they managed to fix the second part of the quest chain, which allowed people to actually do stuff in Frostfire Ridge. That is unacceptable. We had no comment, as I said, for 14 hours, and then they said, we're working on it. We're aware of it. Well, thank you. We were aware there was a problem within 20 minutes of logging in. Okay, within 20 minutes of logging in. Absolutely inexcusable. I've never seen this happen. Why did this happen, though? I don't really want to focus too much because Blizzard, as usual, isn't going to say too much. They'll probably just say, oh, well, you know what? It was really busy. That's not going to fly. We've had several expansions where, in fact, it wasn't a problem at all. Wrath of the Lich King's launch was mired by about 30 minutes of issues logging in. But right now, the Dark Portal doesn't work. One big fucking problem with Warlords of Draenor is if your portal to access Draenor doesn't work. And we've had to have emergency Khadgars placed in the major cities in order to allow people to actually get to the new zones. How can that be? How can you have the major entry gateway into the new expansion not work? That's not lag. That's broken. And that is hilariously broken. My God, is that hilariously broken. Oh, how do you get to the Warlords of Draenor? You go through the Dark Portal. Dark Portal is broken. And then, almost without a skipping beat, Khadgar broke. I went to visit Khadgar because the Dark Portal wasn't working, and Khadgar had broken as well in the cities and was saying he was waiting for an opening, and then about an hour later we got a message saying we fixed the Dark Portal but Khadgar's still standing around. Oh my God, Blizz. What happened? Could be anything. It could be anything. One major thing that I probably think occurred is the Warlords beta was rushed. There's no doubt about that. We said it several times, is they were flirting between alpha and beta overnight. They were randomly opening zones to the point where we had no zones but Frostfire Ridge and Shadowmoon Valley for weeks. We had them for about 6 weeks, was the only accessible zones in the whole game, and then suddenly they just unlocked everything, and then threw beta keys across the board, get in. I have to say, though, during the stress testing, which was similar to the amount of players that you would expect to find in one zone, is that the game still ran. It had lag like you would expect, but it still ran and it was working. Very odd indeed. And it can only be down to the fact that they stopped focusing on the new zones entirely. Midway through the beta, they just gave up on that and just said, well, fuck it, there's Ashran, and we'll just got to change the names of the realms, and you can go and do whatever you want. Some people leveled, but very, very few, and obviously nothing along the lines of actually a live realm. And then major patches were hitting week after week, and as you guys will have known in the history of the game, is that a major patch that affects something stupid like a poison can somehow break things like the Dark Portal because of the way gaming code works. It just tends to happen sometimes. Is mysteriously changing a model, as we've seen in the past, can in fact cause entire radiances to not work. Really odd. Disappointed to say the least, but I don't think that's the important issue because the light is shining now. Things are getting fixed. The tweets are coming out is, look, this is what the Blizzard devs are saying is, look, we are just trying to get the game playable. That's all we're doing right now is we're firefighting. And they've been firefighting. And I do agree with many people that the EU was hugely ignored, considering they seem to have the majority of the problems. Not that the US hasn't got problems, obviously they have, but the EU has noticeably been worse and noticeably far more ignored. It's as if it felt, as a player, as if they turned on Warlords and then went to bed and left it there, which is obviously not what happened, but communication has been downright atrocious through this entire thing, and it's really inexcusable. Now, the big problem for me is not this, because I'm not someone who's going to instance grind. I refuse to do that. I've got my plan for my rogue and my main character of how I want to level it, and I'm sticking to it, and frankly, I'm okay with it. I've got plenty of alts to do other things with. I can rock the Tanaan jungle a few times and get those guys ready for when we do the big live stream. I'm fine with that. It's the players and the vast amount of players, and let's not underestimate the vast amount of players who have returned to the game for Warlords of Draenor, fresh life, fresh blood, being breathed into the game. What we craved as a player base is new life, returning old players. This entire expansion was designed to bring back those older players, those players who were intrigued to see the characters of old, the Warcraft 3 characters, the Warcraft 2, the original Orcs and Humans characters, coming to life, experiencing them, seeing these names. Those are the guys who are going to log into World of Warcraft or have logged into World of Warcraft, and we're already seeing is, dude, I was waiting for this, I was coming back to try this, and your game is unplayable. And not unplayable as in just for a few hours like one can tolerate. It's like, oh, it's really laggy, I'm going to call it a night and go to bed. They're going to bed, waking up the next day, going to work, coming back, still unplayable. That actually makes, and let's be realistic about this, that makes Warlords of Draenor's launch worse than Diablo 3. And we mock that to the ends of the earth. It's all very well and good being able to log in, but the game is practically unplayable for many people unless you're prepared to cheese your way through it, which I personally am not, and I'm sure many other players don't want to do that. Oh, why don't you go and instance grind Bloodmaw slag mines? Why don't you go and fuck yourself? Because that sounds like a fucking shotgun in my face. Because guess what? Your first instance isn't that great. The rest of them are. They're really cool. Maybe I could tolerate that for 1 or 2 levels. But Bloodmaw slag mines? Not for me. Not when I know what's coming. I'm in the position that many other people is like, hey, you know what? I know what's coming and I want it. I want to do the first few zones. I want to get my garrison sorted. I want to pick up my battle plans. I want to do my leatherworking quest, which involves all sorts of stuff in Frostfire Ridge. I want to get all that stuff out of the way now because this is when I'm supposed to do it, and that's when it's appropriate. I'll earn XP on the way, and that's all good times for me. Those new players have been hit by a hammer. What was the big thing we said? What was the biggest killer of Mists of Pandaria is its launch was terrible. Its launch was awful, and people leave en masse. The first impressions of a game, how long do you think people are going to give a game? People give more leeway to MMOs than ever, right? They do. Some people say you need to get level cap before you can make judgment. But if you've not played the game in years and you come back and the game is completely unplayable for longer than a day, my God, you've got to start questioning, like, what am I paying for here? Luckily, they have a month's game time, and hopefully that'll tire it out, but I'm really, really concerned as to how this will affect the game. I'm really just questioning what the hell happened here. I'm sure some of you have got some very interesting stories, and I'll be glad to read through them, actually, to see what's going on here. And I don't want to be the guy who's like, hey, it's okay, guys, it's got teething problems. Teething problems is fine. The game was broken. Flat out broken for nearly a full day, and is still broken. For me, right now, on my server, it's still broken. I cannot access my garrison. If I was to log my ult, I could not start Frostfire Ridge. Cannot do it. I cannot access it. I can't get in. And it's a huge portion of the game. Something many people are excited about. Spamming. How do I get to my garrison? How do I get to my garrison? And I cannot do it. I'd love to see a stories guy. I'm not going to follow the trend of it's okay, it's going to be fine, because it's not fine. This is unacceptable. As much as I'm okay, because I've got other things to do, my God, there are millions of other players who aren't in that position. And that fucking sucks, because this game is really good. I've been playing Warlords of Draenor for months, and it's fantastic. I know what's coming, and I'm okay with it. But I am not okay. I am not okay with the game being flat out broken. Complete lack of communication. It's just diabolical. Really bad. All right, guys. I hope you've had a better first day, especially you guys over in the US. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.